Next topic in your module is crisis counseling. Now, what is crisis? Crisis is how individual reacts to the stressful life experience that affect his or her stability and ability to cope or function. At different point in the life, most of the people will experience some kind of crisis. We all like to live a stable and happy life rather than having problems in your life. So when a problem or when a crisis or when a disaster strikes, then all will experience a stress in their life. Sometimes the people can cope up with the daily stresses, but if it goes beyond the ability of a person to deal with it, then to regain the stability, it is necessary to give counseling. So, the crisis can be called as any situation in which the individual perceives a sudden loss in on her life. And here, the ability to solve a particular problem to cope up with the situation is not possible. Crisis may happen by an event like death of the family member, jobless, and end of relationship. So, crisis counseling involves providing support and guidance to the individual or group of people in the family or in a community. So, let me put it into words that is, counseling is a personal face to face relationship between two people in which the counselor, by means of relationship and his special competence, provides a learning situation in which the counselee, a normal sort of person, is helped to know himself and his present and possible future situation so that he can make use of the characteristics and potentialities in a way that it is both satisfying to himself and beneficiaries to society, and further can learn how to solve the future problem and meet the future need. So here there will be a counselor for providing counseling. So here the main purpose of crisis counseling is provide emotional support and make sure that the person is safe. And this counselor will plan for the better living of that counseling. Now, what is crisis counseling? Crisis counseling occurs when a client who is destabilized engages the service of a counselor. When the crisis comes, the person will lose all his good feelings or all his better thinking. So, what he will try to do? He will try to harm himself, like committing suicides and all. And this crisis needs immediate attention, otherwise, there's a risk of further personality or behavioral distortion. Okay, and this must be done immediately after the disaster, because if it goes out of your hand, then you can never bring them into the normal life again. Okay, now major goal of crisis counseling. The primary goal of crisis counseling is to attain the quickest possible relief of internal and external symptoms of the crisis and return to a particular person's usual level of functioning. So major goal is you have to make it quick and possible relief to bring the people or bring the person to the normal life. That is our main goal. There are some more goals. One is help the person return to his usual level of functioning, decrease the anxiety. See, during the disaster time, the people experience a wide range of feelings and each person responds to the crisis in different ways. So it is normal to feel frightened, anxiety will be there, and they will be very depressed. So you have to decrease the anxiety and all. Now, you have to teach crisis solving technique and give more assistance after immediate help is received. Next thing is safety. So I told you that you have to ensure the safety of each and every individual, because if their mind is not going in a proper way, then there is a chance of committing suicide and all. So you have to ensure the individual safety, and any risk has been reduced and the resources, if available, have to be provided. So if they don't have any resources to come back to the life, so you have to provide that also. Next is stability. It ensures the individual is stable and has a short term plan which includes mastery of self and emergency or disaster situation. So you have to make the individual stable. Then connection. It helps to connect the individual of to normal and informal resources and support. The resources are supports are not readily available. Crisis counseling helps the individual persuade potential and natural resources. Suppose a person is not having enough money to live after disaster, then there must be some financial plan and also will be prepared by the government people. So you have to make them connected to that plan and all. Characteristics of effective crisis counselor. So the crisis counselor will be there, and the crisis counselor should have some characteristics. First thing, the crisis counselor should have self-awareness. So self-awareness is basically to know him or herself. When she talks to a person who is involved in a disaster, she should know the feeling of that person and should feel empathy on him. Okay. Next, non-judgmental. So, see, before listening to the person, you should never take any judgment on it. So, listen to the person who is affected, then only you take the judgment. Then, non-reactive. At times, the client's overburst or threats. At that time, our crisis counselor should be completely supportive. Then, high tolerance. I already told you that the people will be losing their mind and all. They are very stressed and all. The counselor should have the ability to tolerate stressful situation of that person. Next is specific training. So you must provide a specific training to the crisis counselor, then only it can go to a better technique for crisis counseling. Strength of crisis counseling. See, it is brief and direct. It has a modest and objective goals. It is more intense than the regular counseling. That is, it made basically for crisis counseling. Then it is transitional in nature. The limitation is that it is used in immediately in a situation only. Not always it is done. And not go very deep in resolution, and it is time limited also. Now, this crisis counseling process. Crisis counseling process indicate a step-by-step procedure how to assess the person experiencing a crisis to achieve the stability. In the general step of crisis counseling, the first thing is first contact. The first contact is the counselor will try to talk with the client, listen to the client, and get the personal information about the client. If the counselor can understand about the client, the counselor can bring the client to a comfortable position. Next is long time and short time goals. Time goals is basically for correcting or rectifying the emotional balance of a person. That is, reduce the stress, anxiety, calming down the person to reduce the intense fear in them, giving shelter to that affected person, giving something to eat. These all are short time goals. And the long time goals, if the client loses a job, then at that time you give a counseling so that he can again hunt for the job. The counselor can also start looking for the job for that person. So some people will be losing their house and all, no? At that time, you can find a permanent housing for that person. At this particular time, our counselor should be very active and directive also. Next is making plan. While disasters happen, the people have trouble in concentrating. They don't have the power of thinking straight, take a good decision, and they cannot set their priority and all. At that time, the counselor tracks all the information and keeps a note and prepares a plan to bring this affected person to a normal situation. Then final one is termination. See, while terminating, the counselor will prepare a return plan to the counselee. In that, counselor will be indicating many referrals for the future requirements. So thank you students. Thank you for watching my video.